They called it a pacification protocol. 13 outer colonies. 77 million civilians. Mostly children. Vaporized in synchronized orbital strikes that lasted exactly 42 seconds. The Galactic Empire did not issue warnings, ultimatums, or offers. They dropped tungsten rods from their carriers like they were stamping out insects, not futures. A generation gone. So a rebellion might never be born. The screams didn't last long. Atmosphere superheated. Skies turned to flame. Hospitals, homes, schools, ashen moments. No rescue ships. No survivors. The footage leaked despite the Empire's blackout. Earth's networks went black for hours, not from damage, but from shock. It wasn't war. It was the sterilization of hope. The Interstellar Human Union held a memorial broadcast on all channels. No speeches, just names. The names of 77 million. One by one, in silence for 7 days. No flags. No calls for revenge. Just a void, hollow and cold, growing deeper each second. The Empire miscalculated. They thought fear would keep the humans down. They forgot what happens when you kill a people's children. Classified terminals activated beneath the Atlantic and Martian ice. Facilities long erased from public memory buzzed with light. Protocol 9 Red was unlocked. A black site reconnected to the Terran war grid. Deep within Earth's shadow, 2 cryogenic pods hissed open. No rank, no designation, no chain of command. Only design notes left by the old wars. Use in case of extinction-level hostility. Their names weren't even on record. Not really, but history whispered them through military rumor. One was once called the American Nightmare, trained in forgotten arts, pre-space human war doctrine, master of asymmetry, chaos, psychological collapse. He had been sentenced to cryo for crimes so severe they had no legal language. The other, her file, ended with a warning stamped in blood red. Do not engage if active. Earthborn, Mars raised. An orphan forged in penal colonies and Cold War relics. A ghost who moved like a disease. They called her Baba Yaga because no one who saw her twice lived long enough to say more. When news of the children's massacre reached their reawakening chambers, no orders were necessary. There were no briefings, just a data chip with footage and a message burned into its surface. Make it matter. They didn't speak when they geared up. The Nightmare loaded ammo with symbols from old Earth wars, skull icons, burned flags, hand-carved notches for each lost world. Baba Yaga moved silently, braiding her hair with razors, eyes like dead stars. Earth Command gave them one final warning. No diplomatic recourse would exist if they acted. No rescue, no reinforcements, no treaties could protect them. They were no longer soldiers. They were a reckoning. Neither responded. The first Imperial outpost went silent 3 days later. Then another. Then entire fleets stopped transmitting. Not destroyed. Not fought. Gone. No debris. No distress calls. Only the haunting repetition of 2 audio bursts from captured comms. A child's laugh, followed by the phrase, "This is for them." Among the Empire's ranks, something changed. Protocols failed. Morale crumbled. Elite security forces began deserting. Officers refused to open sealed doors. Prisoners were freed without cause. All because something had returned to the stars that the Empire didn't understand. The galaxy had built itself on the myth of humanity's evolution. Sophisticated now, diplomatic, broken of its primal violence. But the Empire touched something raw. The part of humans that mourns not with tears, but with fire. The part that waits in the dark with a blade, carving vengeance into the bones of the guilty. The Empire could not believe what was happening. They had faced Terran fleets before. They had faced Marines, diplomats, assassins, even orbital black sites. But they had never faced them. Not the monsters Earth had buried, because they were too effective. Not the creations born from humanity's oldest lesson. Never again. Behind closed doors, Terran High Command didn't debate ethics. They didn't run risk assessments. They simply turned off the screens, sealed the doors, and waited. Because when you set loose the things that live in the dark corners of your species' soul, you don't give commands. You pray they come back clean. They wouldn't. Everyone knew it. But neither would they stop. Not until every whisper of the 77 million echoed across every corner of the stars. Not until justice, red and raw, had been carved into the spine of the Galactic Empire. And maybe not even then. They didn't leave footprints. They left stories. Whispers spread before them like wind through a graveyard. Fear without proof, panic without presence. The American nightmare was first. Entire command posts found empty. Not attacked, not breached, just silent. Crewmen dead in their bunks, throats untouched, hearts stopped. No alarms triggered, no sensors tripped. Surveillance footage cut off mid-frame, ending with a soundless laugh looped 20 times. Baba Yaga didn't leave corpses. She left questions. Noble bloodlines erased during official celebrations. Their heirs poisoned mid-toast while surrounded by guards. Imperial intelligence found blood-slick sigils carved into mirrored walls. No explanation, just a single word etched in a forgotten Terran tongue. Oplata, payment. They didn't speak to anyone. They didn't answer calls from Earth. They ignored extraction signals. A trail of entropy marked their path through Imperial space. Nothing organized, nothing repeatable. Every strike was different. Every strike was personal. Calculated cruelty, tailored to each target's specific sins. Empire analysts couldn't model them. No patterns, no factions, no logic. Command referred to them as echoes of Earth. Unofficial reports called them demons. Morale among Imperial officers dropped by 17%. Patrol fleets abandoned outer routes without orders. Governors fled core systems. The American nightmare hacked comm relays to broadcast lullabies across military channels, disrupting fleet-wide operations for days. His tactics weren't warfare. They were art. Psychological collapse delivered like poetry. Timed explosions that never killed but forced survivors to walk home alone through ash. They say he once left an entire garrison alive, but paralyzed, each man missing only his trigger finger. Another station was found sealed from the outside, still intact, with every officer inside driven mad by loop projections of Terran war crimes reenacted frame by frame. Baba Yaga's touch was colder. She killed without noise or spectacle, a child of silence and hate. She infiltrated entire palaces and vanished before the screams began. When she targeted a noble family, they vanished from all records within hours. Even digital footprints erased. It wasn't just revenge. It was deletion. In the Outer Rim, colonies once loyal to the Empire started turning. Not from politics, but terror. Statues of imperial founders were defaced. Recruitment dropped. Propaganda ceased to matter. People feared shadows more than lasers. Rumors whispered through civilian networks. The Terran Wraiths are coming. The Empire retaliated with elite kill squads. The squads didn't report back. Not even wreckage was found. A message eventually arrived on a recovered drone. You sent hunters. We sent them back in pieces. The Emperor's cabinet debated declaring war on Earth directly. They didn't. Not because of the fleets, not because of diplomacy, but because of the uncertainty. The question they couldn't answer, how many more like them were sleeping? Some believe these two were merely the first wave. That Earth had grown its demons in cages, waiting for the moment to release them. Others believed they were humanity's punishment, chosen not by generals, but by the dead themselves. An intercepted transmission showed a Terran agent embedded deep in Empire intelligence, whispering only two words. This is penance. The American nightmare moved faster than tracking software. His pattern suggested no pattern. One day he'd attack a mining convoy. The next, he'd plant nukes beneath a luxury moon resort and let the countdown run as a warning. But disarmed it 5 seconds before detonation, after every noble had soiled their robes. He once infiltrated a live peace broadcast hosted by the Emperor himself, appearing for 6 seconds on screen, standing silently behind him, then vanishing. The clip was scrubbed. The Emperor never mentioned it. But after that day, he never left his palace again. Baba Yaga infiltrated an AI network designed to hunt her, then used it to reroute imperial funds to refugee colonies burned by the strikes. Her message to the Empire was always the same: left in blood or fire. You cannot control what you cannot understand. By now, the Empire no longer believed these were soldiers. They believed they were archetypes, the personification of human vengeance. Their myths became bigger than their kills. Even those spared began to break. Entire brigades surrendered to phantom shadows. Some shot their own officers to avoid being visited. Humanity never claimed them, never denied them. The silence was worse than confirmation, because silence meant control was irrelevant. These weren't just ghosts of a dead generation. They were judgment. And for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire was afraid. Not of war, not of invasion, but of being seen by those two, judged, chosen, and marked for obliteration. The names meant nothing. The message was everything. Earth didn't want an apology. It didn't want surrender. It wanted fear. And it had found the perfect way to deliver it. The outer ring burned first. Agricultural worlds, lightly defended, turned into graves. The American nightmare didn't strike like an army. He slipped in, turned entire supply chains against their own masters. Food shipments laced with neurotoxins meant for targeted DNA. Governors starved while citizens ate. Every choice made with surgical cruelty. Each system lost wasn't taken, it was abandoned. Baba Yaga was already moving 3 sectors ahead. Her targets were cultural. She erased history. Libraries combusted with plasma trace. Imperial monuments shattered by quiet charges, no alarms detected. Statues of past emperors toppled with a single phrase left behind, carved into the marble. Forgotten, like your crimes. The Empire mobilized. Entire fleets repositioned. Starport lockdowns. Quarantine zones. Nothing worked. For every defense raised, 3 attacks followed elsewhere. Their movements weren't just unpredictable. They were impossible. No logistics trail. No fuel. No ship logs. Even timestamp anomalies appeared across surveillance, as if reality itself blurred in their wake. The Emperor issued a bounty. Trillions offered for their location. Instead, what followed was a galaxy-wide silence. No one hunted them. No one betrayed them. Everyone feared being noticed by them. Entire colonies began broadcasting apologies unprompted. Sectors once loyal to the Empire flew white flags to no one, hoping to be spared. A former High Chancellor was found hanging inside his own palace, a confession tattooed into his chest, inked with nano-drones. I signed the order. The American nightmare began targeting thought leaders, propaganda artists, philosophers who justified extermination with elegant speeches. Each one found dead in poetic irony. One suffocated beneath his own books, another drowned in ink. Not war. Justice dressed in horror. Baba Yaga took children, not to harm them, but to deliver them back. Rescued from mines, camps, broken orphanage ships. Returned to their worlds without a word, carrying data chips of the dead. Photos, logs, final words from parents incinerated during the genocide. Her actions didn't just wound the Empire. They turned its citizens against it. A wave of desertions began. Military defectors formed cells. Some begged Earth for asylum. Earth didn't answer. It didn't need to. The message was clear. There was no forgiveness, only consequence. One entire noble house committed collective suicide before their names reached the vengeance list. Their worlds were spared. The message was documented, then spread. No bloodline is sacred. No plea will be heard. Only debts. Only payment. The Imperial Navy attempted a counteroffensive. 10 fleets. 200 capital ships. Coordinated strikes across border systems. Everyone met with failure. Not by resistance, but by misdirection. Ships rerouted, sabotaged, systems turned against them. They fought shadows and lost. A fleet admiral went missing for 3 weeks. He reappeared with no tongue, no eyes, and hundreds of coordinates tattooed into his skin, each marking an atrocity he approved. He died 37 seconds after arriving in orbit. Civilians across the Empire began to wear Terran colors. Not in defiance, but protection. Churches converted to shrines for the lost children. Priests recited the Earthborn names. Across 1,000 systems, the Empire lost more than ground. It lost belief. The Emperor's speeches turned erratic. He called them cowards, monsters, liars. He blamed Earth, blamed rebellion, blamed the children themselves. None of it mattered. His words didn't reach the stars anymore. The American nightmare hacked the central broadcast hub. One message, 2 minutes long, transmitted across every device in the Empire. He stood alone, face hidden, voice calm. You created us. You buried us. And then you lit the fire. We are not vengeance. We are what comes after. No threats. No warnings. Just finality. Baba Yaga didn't appear. Her message came differently. Every imperial prison suddenly opened. Not physically, digitally. Cells unlocked. Chains released. Each inmate handed a single file. Evidence of the Empire's crimes. Personally curated, then let go. She turned the broken into witnesses, the tortured into flames. From the core systems to the dust rims, chaos became scripture. Not because of a revolution, but because of two ghosts walking through the wreckage of humanity's patience. The Empire wasn't fighting enemies. It was facing its own reflection, held still by human hands that didn't shake anymore. Hands that weren't clean. Hands that weren't righteous. But hands that remembered the children. Every last one. No flags flew for these two. No medals waited. No soldiers followed. But systems fell behind them like dominoes set long ago. Carefully arranged. Now simply falling. And behind each collapse was silence. No laughter. No screams. Just the sound of consequence. The Emperor finally spoke with trembling certainty. Peace. A universal pardon. A formal apology broadcast across sectors. Relief was brief. The message was intercepted mid-transmission, overwritten by an old Earth nursery, rhymes sung by a single child's voice. The Empire's apology died unheard. The galaxy understood there was no deal to be made. Baba Yaga entered the palace months before the Empire knew it was compromised. Every encrypted wall cracked. Every secret file decrypted and archived. When the final strike came, she had already dissected the regime from its spine to its skin. Names, lists, locations, judges, admirals, architects of the massacre. Everything cataloged. Every atrocity indexed. The American nightmare didn't storm the gates. He whispered through the walls. Key staff disappeared. Power grids collapsed. Generals found themselves stranded in space without atmosphere. Ships intact, but airless. No declaration. No demands. One by one, those responsible for the genocide simply vanished. Not killed. Erased. The imperial throne room was found empty. No guards. No court. Only the Emperor alone, staring at the last surviving record of his own order, burned into the wall. Operation Dustwind. Execute all miners first. His signature pulsed red beneath it, looping eternally. He tried to run. He reached a private escape, craft hidden beneath centuries of protection. No codes required. It opened before he touched it. They had let him believe he had choices. Let him believe he could beg. When Earth's fleet arrived, it didn't fire a single shot. The war was over before they got there. The Empire had folded from the inside. The body still stood, but the soul was gone. No resistance. No retaliation. Only silence and scattered confessions. In every world complicit, the pattern repeated. Governors confessed over public networks, offering themselves in chains. Families of war criminals fled toward the outer dark, begging sanctuary from the same races they once enslaved. Some were caught. Some weren't. The ones who vanished still feared that the two shadows would follow. And they would. Humanity's government didn't praise them, didn't claim them, didn't acknowledge their mission. When asked, officials said only, they were never ours to command. One Terran diplomat attempted to denounce their brutality on neutral channels. 3 hours later, his entire career and personal history were erased from the Galactic Archive. No threats were made. No fingers pointed. He simply stopped existing. No one attempted another protest. The Empire's remaining systems broke themselves apart. Former colonies declared independence, begging Earth for peace, not out of diplomacy, but self-preservation. Earth didn't respond. Not with fleets, not with envoys. It let the silence do the work. The duo's final message was received across every galactic node, a single file. Inside were the names of the 77 million children killed, indexed by colony, age, and cause of death. Each entry followed by the phrase, "Paid in full." No voice accompanied it. No further action followed. After that, the shadows disappeared. Some say they returned to cryo. Some say they never existed at all. That Earth invented them as myth. A psychological weapon so effective that the idea alone dismantled empires. But no myth leaves trails of ash and signed death warrants soaked in truth. Memorials rose, not just on Earth, but across systems once ruled by fear. Monuments shaped from scorched steel and shattered bones, etched with names that once meant nothing to the galaxy, now carved into its foundations. The 77 million were no longer numbers. They were memory, currency paid with blood. And the ones who paid, they weren't heroes. They weren't soldiers. They weren't legends. They were what remained when justice failed, when law broke, when even mercy turned away. They didn't win the war. They ended it. Not by diplomacy, not by conquest, but by making the cost of atrocity too terrifying to repeat. No empire rebuilt itself in their shadow. No regime rose with the same hunger. Not because of fear, but because somewhere buried deep, the galaxy remembered that two humans once walked through fire and did not come out clean. And if pushed again, Earth would not send fleets. It would dig deeper and find worse.